In our last episode, I told you guys that racing games are the only sports games I'm willing to feature in the series, so I'll take advantage of that right now in order to bring you our first 99-cent gem for the NES, Super Sprint. There's a reason why it's taken so long to feature an NES game, so let me explain. It's because the era of the $1 NES game is pretty much over. The NES is the go-to retro gaming console right now, and the prices reflect that. I'm going to try to feature some 99-cent NES gems, but in order to do that, I'm going to have to stretch it a little bit. For some of you eagle-eyed viewers, you might notice that this game didn't cost me 99 cents, it was $3. But it was the cheapest NES game in the store I went to. There were no other NES games priced below $5 there, and sadly that's become a common sight in retro game stores these days. For all of the games I include in this series, I can't guarantee that you'll find them out there for 99 cents, but a necessary part of this series is choosing titles that can be found in today's market for 99 cents. That's why I show so many PS2 games, since the games on that system usually fall at the bottom of our inverted bell curve, while NES games are picking up in value. And don't even get me started on Super NES games. I don't know if we'll ever be able to feature a 99-cent gem from there. So the litmus test I use to determine whether a game can qualify as a 99-cent gem is whether or not I would be surprised to see it out there in the wild priced at 99 cents. When we look at Super Sprint, it's not particularly rare or sought after, and it came out on the uglier upside-down Tengen cartridge that a lot of collectors turn their noses up at. So I can easily imagine this game being sold for 99 cents. That wouldn't be surprising at all, so it passes the test here. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the game itself already. Super Sprint is a port of an arcade title, and it's pretty faithful to it, but it does miss a few levels and the graphics have taken a step down in quality. Most of the meat of the game is there though. It's a very simple overhead racing game, but what separated it from everything else at the time was that you can upgrade your car for the next race. In order to do this, you have to pick up the wrenches that appear during the race. Each upgrade costs 2 wrenches. You can upgrade your top speed, acceleration, and traction, or improve your score, which is pointless and probably just a holdover from the arcade game. With each level, the other drivers improve as well, so collecting wrenches to upgrade your car is very important. Sometimes I even find myself going backwards on the track in order to pick one up. You're limited to 6 levels of tuning, and you have to use a little bit of strategy while upgrading your car. You can always make it faster, but you need to balance that top speed with traction, or you'll spend most of the race slamming into walls. Here's my advice though, just upgrade your acceleration first, because most of the tracks are too small to use your top speed anyways. Then you could start looking at speed and traction. But it is fun every now and then to focus purely on top speed, so you turn your car into a manned missile. The racing can get very exciting, and you do see your skills improve with each race. You start out slow, and soon you're a lean, mean, corner-carving machine. But there are plenty of hazards on the track too. There's water, oil, barriers that pop up in the later stages, and even a little tornado that always seems to get you at the worst moment. But the worst hazard of all is the other drivers. Your car seems to bounce around when you hit something, and that makes it really tough to overtake other drivers. You can easily lose a race after being bounced around by a car that you were just trying to get past. I like how you drive a yellow car with a driver who wears a yellow helmet. It kinda reminds me of Ayrton Senna. Wait a second. That's it! It all makes sense to me now. I thought the game was as simple as you could possibly make a racing game, but this entire game is actually a sharp critique of Formula 1 racing through its use of symbolism. The yellow driver is Ayrton Senna. The comically dangerous racing circuits and barriers are symbolic of the disregard for the safety of the racing drivers for the sake of entertainment. The tuning limits symbolize the safety regulations that were instituted after the cars became too dangerous for the drivers. And of course, the malevolent, omnipresent tornado that can ruin your entire racing career is symbolic of the corrupt Formula 1 boss Bernie Ecclestone. His hair, I mean. Damn, there's a lot of subtext to this game. Maybe I'm thinking about it too hard. Let's move on to something else. Today's game that isn't a 99-cent gem is Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30. Brothers in Arms was released in 2005 for the PC, Xbox, and PS2. We'll be looking at the PS2 version. This game follows the same events depicted in the Band of Brothers TV series, but it seems that the only really solid connection between the two is the trail of money that led from Ron Livingston's doorstep to Gearbox Software. World War II first-person shooters were extremely popular at this time, and as far as the gameplay mechanics go, this one isn't too different aside from a heavy emphasis on squad combat. But one big difference is the enemy suppression system. This comes in the form of a little meter that appears above the enemy. While you shoot in the enemy's direction, this meter indicates how likely they are to leave their cover and shoot back at you. It also makes it very easy to identify where the enemy is located, which is very useful because they tend to blend into the backgrounds. The suppression system works hand in hand with the squad-based gameplay, in theory. Under the best circumstances, you should be able to keep the enemy behind cover and distracted while you do something clever like move in and attack from their flank or behind. In practice, it doesn't go that smoothly. It's not uncommon for you to leave your troops, only to find out that they decide to make a bonsai charge and get themselves killed. Sometimes I just tell them to stay behind while I do the job myself. The designers tried to do well, and when it works, it's a pretty cool system. But most of the time it ends up giving you the feeling that you're babysitting a group of suicidal soldiers. There's an even greater problem though. Handling the weapons is very difficult. Part of it was clearly intentional, because they were going for a realistic gameplay experience, but the aiming does seem unfair, and I don't know if that was just bad hit detection, or if they were trying to simulate how World War II would have happened if it was fought by Imperial stormtroopers. Your accuracy is so bad that sometimes you end up wasting your ammo right in front of the enemy, which leaves you frantically trying to dodge their bullets while you reload. And when it happens to the enemy at the same time, it looks like you're dancing with them. Even with all of those flaws, the game is alright, but I really wanted to enjoy this game though. It has a good selection of weapons, the enemy AI is pretty good for its time, and I find the aiming system pretty interesting even though it usually ends in frustration. But if we're going to talk about frustration, then there's one thing that makes the game nearly unplayable. The PS2 version is choppy as hell. There's no denying that the PS2 is the weakest system the game was released on, and because of that it has massive amounts of slowdown and frame rate drop. It's so bad it adds a whole nother layer of difficulty that didn't need to be there. At first I thought it was just my copy, but then I found out that other gamers had the same complaint. I'm sure the Xbox and PC versions are superior, and they probably don't have this problem, but the PS2 version is a dog. I played this game all the way through, and when I reached the end, all I had was this empty feeling like I had just wasted several hours of my life that I'm never gonna get back. So I guess I have to give a warning about this particular version. If you're looking for a gem, look elsewhere. Well, as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.